Welcome to 5 Star Weekly. The Pineda outshouts are getting louder, but will we be able to capture the must-have 3 points this weekend? We get into all that and more coming up. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. Welcome to the show, 5 Star fam. I'm AJ, and this is Michael. And unfortunately, Atl Utd has been kind of frustrating a lot of people for some time now, and yeah, the recent results in the league have been to the effect where a lot of people are screaming for Pineda's head, screaming hashtag Pineda out, and it's coming to a head, I think, because we are in the league 5 games winless, and yeah, we'll get into all of that. We of course also had a midweek match in the U.S. Open Cup, which we will review as well. But, yep, yeah, indeed. And, yes, we are a former winner of it, as Michael was pointing to the background. But, yeah, you know, it is previously also been a house of horrors in the U.S. Open Cup, which, yeah, we'll get to. But before we get into all of it, let's give some love to our Patreon members and patrons. Much love to you guys for your continued support. You guys keep us going. And yeah, specifically Gavin, Jordan, Niall, Andrew, and Chris. And yeah, so into the first review, which against Minnesota United, we dropped 2-1 at the Benz, which is blasphemous. We had and have 2 losses at the Benz back to back. That's just, I can't remember the last time it happened, but
it's been years. Yeah. I think it was like 2020 or 2021 or something.
Yeah, which, I mean, that speaks to how grim that period was, and the fact that we're doing that this year with the talent that we have. Oh, it's a big sigh. And yeah, so, you know, essentially going into the match, you know, we had drawn against the Chicago Fire, and, you know, against this Western Conference opponent, you know, it should have been probably at least a draw. And definitely it was a must win for Atl Utd, for a lot of the reasons, because of, I think, for Gonzalo Pineda's, you know, job, it's very much in that territory of, are we going to, you know, is he going to be able to save his season, essentially? Because yes, while the MLS season on a whole is forgiving, his rope, his leash is very short right now, and a lot of fans are not happy at all about it. And but, you know, before we dig in massively into the minutia of this match, what were your thoughts on the Minnesota match? Since unfortunately you have been under the weather, but yeah, definitely are feeling better, but didn't really get to you know, kind of lay your thoughts out in the live post-match fan reactions.
Yeah, I mean, I was half conscious watching it, you know, strewn out on the couch with my kids jumping on top of me while I'm sick, so that was really fun. But we lost 2-1. We clawed one back with a goal from Saba, but it wasn't good enough. You know, this was not you don't win games in MLS with 1 goal typically. And at home, you need to score more than 1 goal, definitely. And this was an example of many of the same things that we have come to expect in this team, which is a lot of negative things. And I don't see a lot of evidence of growth or progression or trying to get away from some of these negative things. It seems like when asked, a lot of the players, the coach and the coaching staff, they don't seem to have answers as to why these things happen. There seems to be growing issues within the team as well, in terms of Pineda even cracking his stoic appearance and saying things like, I told him to, play longer balls. They decide to go short. Like, that is pretty damning if your players seemingly are not listening to you. They're not taking the marching orders. So I don't know if they don't have faith in him. There's still communication issues or what. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. People talk about how Gonzalo Pineda is the tactics man from Seattle. Seattle seems to be missing tactics right now, but they had a guy in Brian Schmetzer who was able to kind of will the team, give them the charismatic boost, the halftime pep talk kind of guy, the guy who can even be harsh with them in order to, get his team in line. Maybe Pineda doesn't have that part to him. Maybe he only is just tactics, and he has failed to develop the bite needed to command respect from a team. Or there's some other kind of communication issues, or it's, all the above. Either way, it's not working out. Something's got to move. So the easiest option, obviously, is the coach. That seems to be the trend of where things are going. If things turn around, the only way things, change is if things dramatically turn around. And that's hard for me to imagine happening because, like I said, I don't see any progress in that direction. Specifically, about the game, I don't, there wasn't too much for me to say about it except for, we tried what we typically do. It wasn't working, and we failed to adapt and change. And we got punished because of it. And that's just kind of the story of the season and under Pineda. And I'm kind of tired of it. And I think a lot of people are. And that's where you get the, Pineda out crowd, which, again, I'm always like, if he turns it around and things are good again, I don't care if he stays. I'm happy. It's like Tyler Pergam would say things like, I like the guy. His tactics are there. He's a smart guy. It's just, if you can't get the job done, then you're out. So that's kind of where I am, because I don't really care who the coach is as long as we're winning, honestly. So if he can turn things around, then sure, but it just doesn't seem to be the case like that's going to happen.
Right. And some great points there. I mean, I think highlighting one of the things is that, you're pointing out that it really isn't progression. And what Gonzalo Pineda said after one of the recent matches was he saw progression. And I just feel like we're all watching different things than they are, especially as well when Pineda mentions that, when, one of the journalists asks him, well, okay, this happened and this happened. What are you guys seeing out there? Like, what do you see? And he's like, well, we're going to have to review the tape. And it's... It's just baffling at that point when, okay, it's something that I think we all see, but that you have to review the tape. And yes, I understand to some degree you're not wanting to kind of run your players under the bus, but it's at this point, he has, like you pointed out too, that kind of dissension between him and the players. It's super important that your players actually understand what you're trying to do, and if they're willfully going against what you're wanting them to do, then if that doesn't scream out that the discord between the coaching staff and the players is very much rife, then I don't know what does. Yeah. But
on that for a second, I this is something I feel like hasn't been talked about elsewhere. Maybe it has, and I apologize for that, not knowing, but an interesting observation I've noted about, the difference between now and, like, let's say, when Atl United previously and with Jose Martinez revolted against Frank de Boer, and their idea was to, basically ignore Frank's, slow, plodding, mechanistic play in favor of more the pedal to the metal, throw everything forward and go crazy kind of style, which they like to play. And the difference here being Joseph seemed to have been correct. Atlanta seemed to they actually did seem to play better, more exciting. Their identity came back. Players seemed to be having more fun when they were kind of let loose off the chain. And with that example, it seems like the players revolted because they believed that they had a better answer than the coach, and it seemed to play out that way. Difference now, the players deciding to kind of ignore Pineda and go short and build up play and quick passes interchange like this. That didn't seem to be the right call. That wasn't the right idea to play that way. And Pineda was likely right to try and go over the top and do long ball and keep them honest like that. Because it seemed to be that, and long ball counters and other things like that, we would run at them with speed. It's the only thing that really kind of put Minnesota on their heels. It's interesting. I don't know what that means, but I just find it interesting that it seems like the players got it wrong this time.
I mean, to some degree, I think it's also this, because Pineda, he pointed out that, okay, yeah, the stats wise, we dominated, and okay, if you're only looking at it in a vacuum, then sure, because yes, okay, with shots, we had more shots, 20-12. Shots on target, we didn't. We had 4 to their 5. Corner kicks, 13-9. XG 2.8 for us to 0.9 for Minnesota United. Possession 64%. Our accuracy was better, 83. Their possession was only 36, 65% passing accuracy. But that's the thing. It's like, okay, yes, the games are won and lost or drawn by goals, but the part of it that is important is also control and domination. And a team can dominate you by not having the ball.
Right.
So it's one of these things that, okay, we played right into Minnesota United's hands. And they're the type of team that, yeah, they had 5 at the back. They were extremely difficult to break down. So essentially, they controlled where they wanted us to be. And essentially, we played where they are largely at their strength, which is, okay, we have to go wide, and then we have to pump in balls that are hopeful. And yes, we had 2 of the better shots in the match, but okay, we were not clinical. And so this is how the game is played, is that, yeah, you have to figure out how to win these type of games where, yes, the opposition is going to stymie you. They're going to just absolutely try to stifle you with what you're trying to do, which is very well known in the league that we're trying to play possession always. And we're not adaptive enough. We're not a team that knows how to kind of change from the game state that we're in to be able to win games. That's ultimately that's the telltale here, is that we're not winning our games. It's at some point, it's not because of luck. And our position in the league is very much so indicative of the coaching that is from this club. And okay, yeah, you have some players that are not in form, but whose job is it?
It's half and half, I'd say.
Right. Yeah. But whose job is it to get these players in the best positions for them to succeed? It's on the coaching staff. And so, yeah, you have a large number of players that are struggling. You have Yorgos Giacomakis, who, in the longest drought of his MLS career, he hasn't scored in 231 minutes. And, Brooks Lennon, he's gone 305 minutes without an assist. It's some time that these players are not on the same page, even though, okay, yes, some of these players are just getting back into match fitness. We haven't had Stian Gregerson, yes, but this is constantly the case that we're short on fitness. We're short on players that are not healthy or that are healthy. But it's just one of these things that, okay, and we'll get to the U.S. Open Cup match where we looked a little bit markedly better somehow, but we'll get into, I think, the reasons why. But But yeah, it's so large parts of this match. Minnesota United just shepherded us to where we're not dangerous, and in that, well, okay, you see some players that are able to maybe they are able to affect the game, but they're not played in the areas that they can actually affect it to the best of their ability. And yes, we finally got a consolation goal with Lapsanidze, who yes was finally able to hit the back of the net. He, for the large part of this past month, hasn't been able to hit the side of a barn, and it's just for a player that works as hard as he does, and he's getting a lot of crap for not basically being in form. But it's odd because it's like, yeah, he's getting himself in those positions. So, okay, yeah, he's not maybe as clinical of a player that we need him to be at the moment. But I hardly think he's the problem. I think there are a lot of kind of systems in place on the team that are not really utilizing some players' strengths, like a Caleb Wiley, where, okay, you have Brooks Lennon, you have Caleb Wiley, both like to bomb forward. Well, Caleb Wiley is one of the, the three that have to be back a little bit. And so, you see him playing a little bit kind of that inverted fullback role that's become really in vogue recently. And yeah, one of Caleb Wiley's best strengths is being able to bomb forward and join in the play and, break forward on counterattacks. And I mean, it's how many moments have we seen of that this season? Less than a handful, I would say.
He's had a bad season so far, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then so your categories too, unfortunately. But yeah, and yeah, if anybody has been hearing little cat meows, it's it's Michael's.
He is 2 rooms over, so I don't know what else I can do to stop him from meowing.
It's insane. That's 2 rooms over. Wow. But anyway, so I mean, in the Minnesota United match, I mean, it's like, okay, the first goal that we give up is largely unacceptable. But both goals pretty much are unacceptable. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, how many goals are we going to give up self-inflicted? It's maddening, absolutely maddening.
Yeah.
But yeah, and as well, I mean, so the second goal, just getting beat from distance like that, it's just another instance of, okay, yeah, Braguzan, as much as we appreciate him as a human being, like, that is a goal you have to stop.
Yeah, I think Cohen gets to that one, most likely.
Because it's at his near post. Yeah, I mean, it's a worm burner, but you absolutely have to react quicker than how he did. And
yeah,
it's just it's egging on into a dire moment of ours already. And yeah, it makes a game that's already a little bit tough going down early, and it's just that age-old, when we go down early, we don't win. And yeah, our record from a losing position is piss poor, and it's really, really bad under Gonzalo Pineda. So yeah, it's just like these sins of yesteryear just keep popping up over and over again, and we haven't found solutions to it. Like, we don't win on the road, and if we don't win at home, what are we doing? We're not we're basically having an epically bad month.
Yeah.
And that's
and it's only going to get harder.
It's only going to get harder.
Next month's going to get more difficult. Like,
yeah, we've got we have the likes of pretty much the league leaders, the division leaders, pretty much, that we have to face in May. So yeah, it's only becoming harder, and maybe we need a new manager bump or a new head coach bump because, I don't see how it is going to improve. Maybe with some more health, possibly, but that's a short-term fix because, again, some players go down. What happens then? Or just dire.
Yeah.
Can he get the best out of these other players? We haven't seen it.
No.
But anyway, so in terms of the Saba goal, I think it was relatively really well worked, to be fair. And so, that is a consolation goal. I'm happy Saba got got to see a ball hit the back of the net because he's been getting in all these scoring positions and getting into the box where he was able to slot it away. One time essentially is really, really good. So
one thing about that I'll say is I'm happy. I'm not happy that he's had his almost like what looks like the yips with these last couple of games where he's there's one, in one of his opportunities where it was right in front of goal and he just couldn't score. There's been a couple of those where he really should have done better, really should have scored, and it just didn't go in. He missed the net, whatever. Just wasn't dialed in. And I'm happy, and my worry was that, is this going to be another player like Luis Araujo or someone who gets in their head and can't get out? And they let the negativity win and they can't scrub, their brain clean and have a tabula rasa and start over every new game and then, come at it with fresh eyes. But it seems like that's not necessarily the case. He's, scored, so he's got that monkey off his back and he keeps trying. And it seems like he keeps putting the same amount of effort in. And he's not letting it get to him, not getting frustrated, or at least visually, he's not pounding the ground or anything. It doesn't seem like it's negatively getting to him. So I like to see that mental resilience in a player because we've had so many players come through that just are not mentally resilient. They're just so used to either winning or everyone else around them being good. And they think, oh, I'll just come here and do the same thing. And then all of a sudden they lose and they face adversity for the first time. And they're like, I don't know how to deal with this, and they just phase themselves out. So I like that Saba doesn't seem to be that way. He seems to be more mentally resilient, and that is something that's, to me, a big relief.
Absolutely. And that's really, I think, a big part of this is that the players don't seem to be giving up at the very least. You might be seeing some players really struggle with form at the moment, but I don't see in any sense, players that are absolutely just down tooling and, looking like they are not playing for the club in the sense. But it's still, it's largely not good enough, and who knows how much it might slide if the results do not continue to come. But
Mosquera is definitely in his head right now. He seems to not be able to put a foot right because of, he thinks, oh, I better not make a mistake. And then he makes another mistake. So it's, that's tough to see. Hopefully he can work that out, but I just don't think he's the type of player who can easily get out of that type of mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a bit part in this team right now. Obviously, his best moments usually come from coming off the bench. And so with that kind of, it's like, okay, well, the cameo's probably going to come, but it's just, he's scarred a little bit. He needs that kind of bit of confidence. And, we saw that at the end of last season when he was, getting on a little bit of assisting and scoring run, but, right now almost nobody is. And that's the bad part about it. And of course, we're talking about in the league because the U.S. Open Cup we'll talk about right now. So, the U.S. Open Cup, it was on Tuesday. We won 3-0. I think the scoreline flattered us a little bit. You know, we
A little.
yeah, a little bit, because the first half, yes, you know, we basically, I mean, there were a lot of good moments from our homegrowns. You know, it was a completely changed 11 essentially, and you know, the likes of Josh Cohen, the kind of players that we signed on short-term contracts, Ashton Gordon, Matt Edwards, were able to start in the starting 11 as well. Stian Gregerson came in. Unfortunately, he saw an injury in the 11th minute, apparently a head injury. So, yeah, very frustrating. But Noah Cobb came in. Yeah, he looks really, really good. You know, defensively, what we have come to know from the homegrown, and you know, as well, Edwin Morales. You know, very stout in the air. Dax McCarty at points, yeah, really shepherding where people need to be, and that part's important. He was really trying to make things happen. Had a couple
He almost made a goal for the other team happen.
And that too, unfortunately. He also had a couple of very errant shots that went to Rosie. But, you know, larger part, though, McCarty was, you know, able to stamp out most of the fires, except for starting some own fires of his own. But yeah. And
it's like we can't not have a game where we do some cataclysmically ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
Like, can we just have a game where we don't make an insanely bad, dumb, you know, play? Can we just... Please, just one.
Right. And because speaking of that, we got away with another one with Ronald Hernandez, who gave away a free kick that should have been a penalty. No VAR in the U.S. Open Cup. And yes, it's very much we are wiping that sweat off our brow because, I mean, you know, unfortunately, so far, Ronald Hernandez, every single time he's come on the pitch, I mean, I think we're... in terms of
it's another player who has like that mental, you know, issue right now where they think that, you know, they're too in their head, they can't put a foot right. That's, you know, and it's you hate to see that.
Right. I think you know, field tilt wise, or you know, any sort of stat wise that would show like, okay, yeah, when this player's on the pitch, it's you're giving fouls away, you're possibly giving goals away, and I mean, it's just, you know, him as our only senior defender at, you know, the backup for the fullback positions. I'm worried every single time he comes on the pitch now, and it's like, you know, Atlanta United, like, these are the problems that we're having, is that, okay, while we are dominating the stats, we're dominating possession, we're dominating, you know, shots, most of our shots are either errant or we're missing big chances. But why is it that the opponents only need a couple of chances to essentially score or win the match? I mean, it's essentially, those chances are either really big chances, or we are not doing well enough to get them out of the goal, because it's that easy for them. I mean, like, let's go back on, you know, some of the goals that we've conceded. It's not like we've conceded ridiculous team goals.
No.
You know, it's basically self-inflicted mistakes that have been our undoing. And unfortunately, like, you can say this is on the players. Like Gonzalo Pineda is not the person who's... but you can help them control the match where they do not make these mistakes. It's not just on the players. And so, you know, okay, they made that mistake, but okay, we continue to make the same types of mistakes. So at this point, like, if the players are okay, you know, we've changed a lot of players that have made those mistakes, but yet, what's the what's the continuity that is still happening?
What's the variable that maintains, right? It's you change the front office, you change the players, you keep the coach. Things remain the same.
Yeah. And so I refuse to believe that it's okay, we're cursed as a club or something. No.
No.
Like you can change those things, because as far as like curses and all that, like yeah, I am nigh to believe any of that type of stuff on a 8-year-old club. So it's at this point, there's a lot of things we can change, and it starts with the coach. It really just starts with the coach, and beyond that, we all know Carlos Bocanegra as well, is somebody that is culpable for all this, and if it continues, it's going to go up to Garth Lagerwey as well. So, like it's if he can't solve the problems, well then we're going to have to really audit and evaluate what's going on. But so in this US Open Cup match, the first half not fantastic, but a lot of good chances, kind of half chances anyway, created from the right side through the young homegrowns. You have Luke Brennan continually delivering from pretty difficult maybe situations or positions on the pitch, going to the byline, digging out an early cross. I mean, he was finding balls to cross into the area, which kind of low percentage, but it is still I think he was able to go on a little mazy run too. Had a shot blocked, a little unlucky there, where maybe a little bit more of a better decision making in the final third. But the fact that he was able to get himself and create himself a little chance getting into the box, I found was pretty impressive. Ashton Gordon as well, at moments was able to fashion something from that left side. So we kind of had like more old-fashioned wingers, where they were the ones providing the service, and Nick Firmino, kind of more of a second striker, and Daniel Rios were the ones that got on the scoreboard in the second half. Obviously, we had to really work hard for the breakthrough, essentially, because it's kind of how we have been going lately, unfortunately. While we quote unquote dominated this match, according to
this team wasn't good. It's you should have done better against them. You should have scored earlier in the game. Right before we scored, I kept thinking to myself, is this team allergic to shooting? Do they have to did Gonzalo say you have to take 3 touches before you take a shot or something? Because they just didn't shoot for the longest. I'm just just shoot the freaking ball. But they just kept, I'm gonna pass it, I'm gonna dribble it, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I'm like, you just take the shot. The keeper is not great. You're a decent shooter. Just go for it, see what happens, keep them honest. But they just wouldn't do it. And then when they did, it was flew way over the I remember Zonde had a typical Zonde shot where he completely skied it into the rafters had there been a ceiling. So but yeah, it was a little frustrating to watch before we had scored, because Firmino decided to finally kind of take the game and just start firing, and boy did that reward him, because their defense and their keeper they're not up to the level to be able to stop high quality shots, especially multiple ones. So that was really the solution. Just take your shots, and we just won it for the first half, and I don't know why.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Is that when you're in the box, I mean, it's also one of the hardest things to do is to take it first time. when you're not in confidence, you'll take an extra touch. You'll take an extra 2 touches, and the chance is gone at that point. But if you're a player that is a want to inform, yeah, you'll be raring to go. You'll take shots from anywhere in the box, and I think Nick Firmino, he's that type of player with the ball striking that he's very good at it, and it's one of his strengths. That's why he scores so many goals. Is that no matter where he is, he's hungry for goals. He's going to shoot first time. He's going to go for the audacious thing, and if he misses, so what? He's gonna try again. And there's some players on this team right now that are allergic to shooting in the box, and yeah, I mean,
this is not just a problem with the team that was, for the Open Cup. I mean, during our league games too, is a lot of times where you watch Five Takes podcast, you watch Scars and Spikes, like you get them talking about how just shoot the ball. Like we're just not shooting a lot sometimes. Like we're just dancing around, being fancy, like doing backheel passes to nowhere. Like just sometimes you just got to keep a keeper honest and show them that you're here to, if you don't step to me, I'm going to shoot. Yeah. And so they, but for whatever reason, we feel like we're allergic to shoot sometimes. That needs to, I guess that, that's part of the confidence thing that's this team seems to be having an issue with right now. They just need to get that crap out of here. And hopefully, and I will say one thing about Nick Firmino too, before we move on from him. Like, they talked about Brandon Vazquez being the magic man in our Open Cup run. I remember I heard some people saying, I think Jennifer from Five Takes even said he might be the new version of the magic man for our Open Cup. So keep an eye on Nick Firmino racking up the goals going forward, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully so, because the first goal, really well taken, puts it in the bottom right corner. It's just, like, he's that type of player that I think we need right now. He's never been short of confidence. Someone who can
score? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like, he's that type of player, like, okay, we just keep, like, slamming our head against the wall, kind of going with kind of the same kind of setup. Which, okay, there are people that were vying for possibly some other things, going on in terms of maybe playing 3-man at the back or 5-man at the back with wing backs. I think last episode talked about why I disagree that it might work because, we really don't have the understudies at wing back to really have enough cover for the entire season, and that makes it really difficult, especially if you maybe have to play other players that are less reliable defensively when we're already pretty kind of on the fullbacks defensively. So I think it's something that, okay, within that, then what can we do to change the way that we play? So instead of, there's some other people that have suggested, okay, we should, be a team that, bunkers in a low block and then hits them on the counter. And it's just like, we have too much talent to do that. And that is part of the problem, is that, okay, there is sort of that kind of, that proud mentality that, okay, we're not adaptive within the match. But I feel like you absolutely have to play the game states, and so in that, okay, you come out in matches, okay, maybe it is that you do come out absolutely, running out of the blocks, and you're trying to score a goal first, and then maybe you do score that goal. Well, then after that, you're not in a rush to have to score. You let the game kind of come to you a little bit. You control your opposition to where you want them to be, where you've identified their weaknesses are. So if they're a team that cannot break down low blocks, okay, sit. But if they're a team that, are pretty slow, they can't beat a mid block. Well, then, kind of adapt to that. And so it's just like we're not really seeing adaptive gameplay and the style that it's just basically one note. We wanna possess the ball, and in spite of whoever's on the pitch, we're gonna possess the ball. And it's just like, well, yeah, if you're not gonna try to play the ball into dangerous positions, you're essentially you're asking for it. You're asking for these brain fart moments to happen, and that's what happens. We give these easy goals that basically undo us, and I think that's been the story of our past month, the story of a lot of our seasons. But anyway, I think we're digressing. But yeah. Anyway, so in this match, as well, the third goal from Daniel Rios, the icing on top. That's where I really felt like it was a little bit of a goal or scoreline that kind of flattered us, because I think 2-0 probably was about right. Maybe probably 2-1 to be fair.
If that was a better team, they would have scored.
Yeah.
Perhaps on the Dax McCarty issue, and also, I mean, if there's VAR, then yeah, probably.
Exactly. And so, to be fair, but I had the prediction of it being maybe a 1-1 draw where it went to the penalties. Thank God it didn't, but it still is. Yeah, it's like, it's a team that we should put away, and thankfully we did. But hopefully, Stian Gregerson, the big knock on his head, he hopefully will be okay. He's going to be evaluated.
To be fair, I will say that if we were probably ever going to beat a team in a shootout, it probably was them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you could get your first shootout win there, get that monkey off your back. But right. Yeah, I seriously, you don't want to. I obviously would rather take the win this way, but yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have hated it if we had to go to penalties, because I would have been like, this is a great opportunity to win your first penalty shootout.
Right. Yeah, because their keeper didn't look maybe as apt, kind of shot stopping ability wise, and Josh Cohen.
And we had Josh Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He was up for it, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah, he's looking pretty spry, getting to a lot of different types of shots. So we will be playing DC United, and we will have that match preview later on for you in this episode. But let's get into the news. And Atl United, unfortunately, with the drop points at home back-to-back, we are in 10th out of a playoff spot at the moment, right underneath our next opponents, DC United. Our goal difference still somehow in the positive. I think it's because, large in part, beyond the brain farts, we're still doing okay defensively. Like it's just the certain moments that are, like I said, kind of undoing us. But
yeah, I mean, we're not getting blown out in games. That's one thing. At least we can kind of we can tourniquet some of the blood loss in these games. So I mean, the 2-0 loss to Minnesota was probably one of the biggest hits we've had so far this season.
Well, 2-1, but yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. 2-1. Yeah. No. So, yeah, I mean, we've kept it within one, pretty much every game. It's, not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. And so it's like, okay, if you want to look at the positives of that, that is the case that I think with this, I think it is the, having the shielding in front of the defense is absolutely helping. And so that's a big part of this. But, Inter Miami are, in that pole position. I mean, when Messi has 5 assists in one game and a goal, it's just, how can you compete with this, man? It's just, their goal difference is 14 right now in 12 games played. It's just far and away the best attack in the league, and it's not.
I honestly, they're doing great, obviously, sure. And a lot of people had them kind of fizzling out because we expected them to not be able to stay healthy for long periods of time. and that could still be the case. You know, Suarez or Messi could go down. You know, I mean, what has he missed? Like, what is he? He's missed like 5 games or something like that.
Yeah,
Still,
he's only
and
played
he
6
still
games.
has these numbers.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So, but like, you know, there's still a possibility these guys can be down for a good amount of time, and Miami kind of becomes rudderless towards the middle and the end of the season. So keep that in mind. However, if they continue on at this pace, they're gonna like set records, which I think they already have started setting some records.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. I mean, Messi pretty much has a stat line that pretty much rivals some years, some players' best 11 stat lines. So, yeah, you know, we're dealing with the GOAT right now, and that's also difficult. But yeah, I think something that was very, very pointed. I think that a little bit of self-reflection that should be happening was the tifo that we had, which was a great tifo. It was the May the 4th be with you with Darth Vader. Some people had some issues that maybe we were, you know, oh, we're the bad guys now. We're the Sith Lord. I mean, I so much don't really have an issue with that. It's more, well, okay, the thing that was said, okay, was basically give me a fight worthy of my time. And I mean, the club itself is not living up to that. You know, like the players on the pitch, it's okay, yep. One thing we didn't say was that, okay, that match against Minnesota United, it was too little too late, essentially. Like 75 minutes or more, we did not show up. And then we finally push at the end. And it's just, you know, too often that this happens. We just constantly are doing this. And that's just another like yesteryear thing that just continues to happen. But yeah. Yeah, any thoughts on, you know, kind of the tifo and kind of what I was pointing out there?
I agree with you. It feels cringy when you talk a lot of smack like that and then you can't back it up at all and you kind of get stomped. It doesn't feel good. You know, you can't tell a supporters group or, you know, conglomerate of supporters groups to not do things like that. You want them to do it. You don't want them to lose the passion for it. You know, I like it. I like these tifos. They're awesome. But you know, I'm not going to tell them to like, you know, dial it down or something like that. I obviously not. Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. Do it even more. That's fine by me. It just, you know, sometimes it's going to feel a little cringy. That's just the way it is because, you know, you're going to say like, you're like, you know, Bruce Lee, like come at me. And then you just get punched in the face and then you just kind of look like a dick. So, you know, it is what it is.
And so, yeah, for me, it's not so much the kind of supporters groups. It's really about kind of that the club isn't backing it up. Like, we're always going to smack talk. But it's, yeah, if the club and the team itself is really making it difficult, well, what are we to do? Like, we're supporting as much as we can, but at this point, it's on, like, the ball is in their court.
Yeah.
To do it for us. And, yeah. But, next bit of news.
I mean, it's like we haven't been hearing anything like we're the kings of the South in a long time. I wonder why that's kind of gone away.
Yeah, exactly. It's really difficult to smack talk.
Hard to say that when Miami exists.
Exactly. And so, yeah. But next bit of news, Sportico said that in terms of the world's 20 most valuable soccer clubs in 2024, well, a lot of European clubs dominate the top of the financial table, but MLS had some clubs in there, which is a little surprising. Maybe not the most surprising when we don't have relegation. So, you know, the valuations of teams will always just continue to go up. as the league grows, quote unquote. But Man U are the top by a pretty large margin, along with Real Madrid. FC Barcelona kind of right behind them in third. Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, PSG, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Juventus, Borussia Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, AC Milan, LAFC top the MLS rankings in that. But we are in 17th, which is oddly enough the year that we came in. So,
we're ahead of Miami, right?
We're ahead of Miami just by a little bit right now.
Take that.
Exactly right. Just under Inter Milan. But who else rounds out the list? LA Galaxy and NYCFC. I'm probably most surprised by NYCFC there, but it's they don't have their own stadium, but they are owned by the City Group, so it's probably a big factor. But because I would say, as far as the most fans, I wouldn't say NYCFC is up there in that kind of conversation, but it's the it's a New York effect probably because there's such a big market. But yep. So I mean, as far as that goes, it's awesome, but I think it's a little bit like, are we really as a club doing enough to be in this conversation right now? I mean, I think optics wise, it's great, but I feel a little sheepish being on this list right now with kind of the mediocrity that we have peddled forth in the past 4 or 5 years. It's I don't know, like we're kind of like some of these clubs on here. I mean, Manchester United, Arsenal, some other clubs that basically haven't won things in a while. Like the biggest trophies hasn't been won in a long time, but I guess we're feeding off of our glory years, so that's kind of part of it. But anyway, so next bit of news is that Arthur Blank, he is celebrating getting the 2024 Lifetime Achievement, and that's amazing. I mean, definitely, I'd say one of the best owners of sports, but it is also, the question must be raised, is he too soft on some of the front offices that he employs? Because there's been a lot of mediocrity that has been able to kind of seep in. A lot of Atlanta Falcon fans know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, it's one of those things where he might be loyal to a fault at some times, and some people might have to actually walk themselves out the door before he will let them go. But yeah, and I don't know if Michael, you can check for me real quick, but yeah, because we're recording while the teams are playing, but Charleston Battery or South Georgia Tormenta are possible opponents in the next round of the U.S. So Charleston Battery, I mean, it seems like unless we get knocked out early, we're always on a faded type of matchup with Charleston Battery. We're always going to play them in the U.S. Open Cup if we advance. And so, well, another trip to Charleston, and it's not really ever a bad trip. So,
we've never lost to them, so that's a good thing.
Right, exactly. So hopefully that is not the.
They're no Memphis 901 or whatever it is.
Yeah, but hopefully that is not a thing that we break the duck on. But yeah. The next round will be played at Charleston Battery May 21st or 22nd. And yeah, basically, I think it's a favorable matchup round of 16. But it's always going to be favorable at this juncture until
we are 4 games away, 4 wins away from a trophy, AJ.
Yeah,
just want to let you know about that.
That's crazy. That's it's possible, and it's also possible that Gonzalo Pineda could win this and still lose his job because I don't know if it's enough.
I think that would be preferable, actually. That we win the Open Cup and Pineda leaves. I think that would be great.
Yep. But next bit of news: Atl Utd unfortunately announced that winger Tyler Wolff, he's expected to miss a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks after suffering an MCL strain in his right knee, and he won't require surgery. And his rehab process will determine his recovery timeline. So hopefully a quick recovery to Tyler Wolff. Our winger depth is very, very thin right now. So, but next bit of news is Atl Utd 2. They unfortunately lost 2-1 to the Carolina Core FC on Wednesday. And so, when you pretty much use a lot of players from the team to play the U.S. Open Cup match the night before, kind of guts the team for the next day. So
a lot of academy players, and I think this is the second win in Carolina Core's history. So
dang,
good for them.
Good for them. God, man, it's if we can stop setting records or being the first or second, whatever, for players, teams.
Just stop doing embarrassing things.
Yeah.
Just really embarrassing things. Just like, can we go like a week without an embarrassing thing happen, please?
Right. Yeah. I mean, this one, a lot less control that, they could have had. But also, I mean, it seemed very contentious. Apparently, not apparently, but excuse me, the head coach of Atl Utd 2 got sent off with a red card. So, well, apparently got really heated in there. So, the Carolina Core also as a team got a card as well. So, fascinating. Definitely a barn burner of a match for sure. But, that does it for the news, and it gets us into the mailbag. And you guys send in these questions through IG story. Please continue, and also Discord. Please continue to do so, and we might answer your questions in the future. But first question comes from greatest Josh Cohen fan. He asked, Josh Cohen's performance lately in the twos and U.S. Open Cup was impressive, while Goose hasn't been as sharp lately. Do you think that Cohen should at least be experimented with MLS minutes?
I think Brad's gonna probably play next game. So I don't think it'll be next game. However, I mean, depending how Brad does next game, Cohen could start coming into the conversation more and more. I honestly think he should. But I think that they're going to want to use one goalkeeper for the regular season games and then one for the cup games for now, at least. I just think that's a wise use of your resources, and that's probably what they're going to think too. So I likely believe that that's what's going to happen, but like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to having Cohen play in some regular season games sooner rather than later. Anxious to see how he would do. I think he'd do good, and if he does it at least as good as Brad Guzan, then I'm okay with that, because Brad Guzan hasn't done terrible. Like, I think the goal against Minnesota from distance is probably the most egregious error he's made like all season so far, which isn't terrible. It's not great, but like, he hasn't been doing that bad. So, I mean, if Cohen can come in and at least do that, which I think he'd be more than capable of doing, I don't really care. I think he should he should have some minutes and some time to show what he can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's definitely, on all accounts, I agree that, Josh Cohen, I think, should be getting looks later in the season, hopefully sooner than later. But he probably is the cup keeper for now if we continue to advance. But Lancillo Green asks, what are you guys' thoughts on the academy players like Ashton Gordon and Aiden Toros finally getting their senior team debuts?
Yeah, I'm happy for them that they get them. It's hard to get those. So, I'm sure unfortunately, Torres is like a very, very short amount of time. I think it was the 88th minute. But, it's really cool for them in their career, their progression. They can, notch that as a thing in their career. So I'm happy for them. And, as in terms of, no one really played that poorly in the US Open Cup. Like, they could have played better, but I don't think anyone was like, oh, he just clearly doesn't belong here. Oh, he is just, he got completely turned around. Like, that didn't really happen, which is really good for the, these twos players. Like, no one was like played off the pitch, and they shouldn't be, because it's, what is this, a tier 3?
USL side. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, it's a USL, like, they're in the third tier division. So like, they shouldn't have been having that much trouble with them. So I think they did well. They were expected to do well, and that's great. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think especially Ashton Gordon in this conversation is, someone that's, him being a teenager and, a one for the future for sure. He didn't look out of place at all. And, I think his service, his willingness to take players on, I think he's a player that's, looks nearly ready to, see a lot of minutes for the twos on a very consistent basis. So, hopefully that is the case. But getting into some other questions, P. Magnus N asks, what's going on with Almada? Got auto-corrected to Amanda. But does he even want to play?
I mean, yeah, of course he wants to play, but I think that what people are starting to say is that they think Almada's down tooling because he's frustrated that he hasn't been moved, and so he's not playing at his potential, or he's got some kind of chip on his shoulder. I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think he's fine. I just think players go up and down, and he happens to be in a little bit of a down, but I think he can come back. I think he'll be fine. And I hope he plays his heart out for the rest of the season for us until he leaves and goes to hopefully Europe. He's a tricky, this is like a tricky question, because it's like you're asking people to mind read what the player is thinking and what he wants to do. And we can only work with what kind of evidence that we have. And the only evidence that I can see really just tells me you have to be inconclusive about it and say, hope for the best until you see evidence that proves one way or the other. So, I think, it speaks to like also a bigger question, like we kind of indicated earlier, about some of the players just don't seem to be responding to the coach and the game plan in general. And that goes beyond Almada, but it includes Almada. And that to me is far more concerning on the whole than Almada individually, because individually, he'll go up and down. The team just not being on the same page, that's just always a downward trajectory from there. So that needs to be fixed, remedied immediately. I don't know if that is the thing that's going on. Like, Doug Roberson kind of grilled Pineda on that question, and he's like, for clarification, just to be sure, you said they're not listening to you. And he's like, well, it's not exactly like that, but I mean, it didn't look good, it didn't sound good. So I really need to see some counter evidence and some progression going away from that, because that was, I mean, it doesn't matter how good your team is. You're not on the same page, you're not, in it together. This team isn't going to do anything. So that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, and especially the star player, when he's on, and when he's on song, he is a player that can change the game for us. And it just seems like, he's not getting into the areas where he can be most effective. He's having to kind of focus more on the build-up play and getting us into the positions that we can possibly be dangerous. But
And he's forced to play deep and not get the ball in a forward dangerous position like he wants to. So that's another concern. But I mean, that also lends to the tactics like you were talking about. Are we using him to his potential? You know, if he's forced to drop back like that, I mean, I would argue that you're not. So
yeah, especially I mean, I think we need somebody that can help us in the build up a little bit more, or at least be higher up the pitch to actually. So if it's that, if we're off the ball, a little bit more dangerous, where we essentially are winning the ball higher, then you don't have to break down a team that is in a low block as much if you're able to be in better positions. So anyway, next question comes from, I think the dichotomy in these two questions will be very interesting. So 3 Diego 4 asks, did Dax's performance versus a USL side prove why he shouldn't start? And then Land Guy in ATL asks, with the young CBs we have, why don't we try 3 in the back and allow Dax to start? So definitely,
I don't think Dax is a CB, first of all, but I think he's better used in other ways. But
well, I think to clarify that, I think Land Guy meant that we would have 3 CBs and then Dax start in the defensive midfielder role. So I'm not sure if he rates Sleesh. I'm gonna assume that maybe he's wanting Dax to start over one of our 2 midfielders. Kind of, I think.
We're in another universe if you think Dax should start over Sleesh or Tristan or whatever you in the midfield. That's why my mind instantly imagined Dax as a 3rd CB, because I can't imagine him doing anything else. That is what that is.
I mean, I don't think his performance in the USL or in the US Open Cup against the USL side was really bad. It was more that
he just had one mistake. He just had one really bad mistake. But I mean, that's just not knowing his team really yet.
Right, and I think it's more in the fact that at the end of matches where he can use his experience and know how to be able to get players in the right position. Also, make sure that we see out a match. I think that's valuable. And but as far as starting, not so sure right now. I think he's got to show his ability to be match fit for an entire 90, which he himself has said that he's blowing when he his first appearance for us this season. The 6 minutes that he played, he was gasping for air after that. So, it's not quite that. As far as the young CBs go, I kind of aforementioned where if we play 3 at the back, that's the thing. You're going to take an attacker off the pitch right now when we're pretty stout defensively already. Like, I don't think defensively in terms of, our setup necessarily with the players at hand is the issue. I think it's how we're utilizing the players in those positions to play in a style that is conducive for us to get the best out of each player. That's the issue. And plus,
I mean, your point about maybe utilizing wing backs is not the way that this Atlanta United team is best used. It's an interesting point. It feels like that's all we do. So, going away from that would potentially be interesting, but I don't know what else. I mean, there's, we could look at some options, but I don't know what Pineda looks at and says that would be a good, viable alternative. Considering he hasn't done that, it just really concerns me that he has looked at it and gone, there isn't other viable alternatives. So that really concerns me. But I would be if we decided to, because what people say, and this is something that we're constantly talking about is, and I'm not gonna land this squarely on the shoulders of Lennon and Wiley, our up and down bombers, but the fact that we rely on them for defensive abilities and responsibilities, and they don't get back enough because they're constantly bombing forward, it's like maybe that is an issue. Maybe we should look at not doing that. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's, there are, I think, several ways to maybe counteract it. We can get into the weeds, or maybe it's a video that we, are going to put out. But
why Atlanta United needs to play like Arsenal by AJ.
That's not the video, but but no, it's more like this. It's that because they're not the only team that I watch, so but they are doing a lot of things well, and I think if you look at them in a very strong league, they have essentially only dropped points to 2 clubs this season in the 2024 calendar year. So I think they're doing a lot of things right, as far as if we're talking about Arsenal. And those little aspects of it is that it's like, okay, if we're talking about wingbacks, and if it's Brooks Lennon, if it's Wiley, then okay, as the center backs, the possibilities are probably Abram, Stian Gregerson if he's healthy, and then Noah Cobb. Well, okay, so at that point you have basically 5 defenders. You have to take off an attacker probably, unless you take off a midfielder, and you are thinking that Thiago Almada will do a lot of the defensive work, which that will be tough. He has been doing a good bit this season, but say you take off Muyumba, well then, so you have Almada and Schlich in midfield. That's asking a lot of Schlich to pretty much patrol the entire midfield, and then, well then, okay, either you play that, or if you play Almada at the attacking midfielder position. Okay, so you do that, Muyumba and Schlich in midfield. Okay, well, do you play 2 up top? Who do you play? Shonda Silva, Sabalab Sinise, Yorgos Yakimakis? Or you play a 3-4-3 with, is it Saba? Is it Thiago Almada? And then Yorgos Yakimakis up top? And you also, it's the formation is a little bit negligible. It doesn't really matter as much as what you're trying to do with those players. And so if the players aren't being put in the best position to be able to win us the game, that's the most important. It doesn't matter about who's actually playing at the end of the day and what positions they're playing. It's about getting them in the best positions to be able to affect the game. That's what matters the most. But anyway, so last question comes from P. Magnus N. He gets a double one today. Are you going to see any coaching changes this season? If Pineda stays, will he make adjustments?
We kind of already talked about whether or not Pineda will come and go, and our opinions about that. But will he make adjustments? I doubt it. I wish he would. It's possible. Technically he has changed before. It does not happen often, but once in a while it does. I would like to see it happen more regularly. Maybe potentially he could change a little bit tactically, but I would imagine likely not, especially home games. Home games, I imagine you're going to see the same Atlanta United you've seen all his entire career here, basically. But maybe some away games, maybe he'll try some other things, experiment, because what do you have to lose? You're not going to win away games, apparently. So just try something else, see what happens.
Because, yeah, that's really what it is that at home, okay, and some
Like,
games.
you're the worst team like in the league in like away games. Like, just try anything. It doesn't matter at that point then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's what it is. Is the adjustments on the road is the biggest sticking point, because at home we should take care of business. I think the past month has been a little bit of a blip to some degree, but maybe it's coinciding with the belief from the players, and so that's a little bit part of it. But we've seen little micro adjustments. I feel like some players being played in different positions. Brooks Lennon playing a little bit more interior at times. Caleb Wiley also playing a little bit more interior at times. To kind of accommodate maybe some of the other players, that instead of the redundancy that you might see, where I think we saw it against Minnesota United, where basically you have two wingers, basically doing the same thing, getting in the same areas. It's the same problem when we had Pity Martinez and Ezequiel Barco, just different positions on the pitch. But you have players arriving at the same area and they're just clogging up areas. Like the zones that these players need to be occupying so that we can really kind of be as dangerous and lethal as possible, they're not occupying those spaces. Vertically, horizontally, these players are not in the right places to be effective. And that's also part of it.
Yeah, to add on to that, to me it seems one of the issues I've noticed just in like individual triangular type of relationships that the players have on the pitch with each other, they don't seem to be making off the ball movements in intelligent, like advantageous ways very often. And that, like, they'll try, like, if someone's, like, if Thiago has the ball and he's moving it a little forward in the attacking, the opponent's defensive half, he's making his way towards the box. There's like two players in front of him slowly starting to come to him. And then you have, like, Wiley, or you have, like, the left wing, if it's Saba for whatever reason, like it was the other game, or if you have someone else there, like Zande, like, their movements. And this is critical, like watching what they do when our guys are approaching, it doesn't seem very useful a lot. Like, they will make like little dashes and then that won't do anything. They will, maybe if they make a sprint, they'll be covered the whole time, because it's not an intelligent sprint. Like the defender's just like, okay, you're going and I'm going with you. So you're not open. Like you're forcing their team to vacate space in an area for maybe the dribbler to go to, but almost every time he's already man marked anyway. He's got a guy coming on top of him. So like, phrasing, pause. But anyway, when you have that going on, I don't understand, and I've noticed when you watch other teams play, they will make these very decisive movements off the ball to create space for either the guy with the ball, or like to get open to receive a pass, or to at least unbalance the defense. And I just don't see that when we're approaching in the attacking half. Like I said, either they'll try and make runs, and sometimes they will. And sometimes the through ball will get to them, and that's great. A lot of times they're already covered, or like right when they get the ball, they're hassled and they can't make a good pass, or they have to chip it or something like this, like from the wing or something like that. Yeah. There's very few times where, someone just makes a thing and they're just open, and it just blew the defense out of the water, and the defense, oh well, we lost our guy. He just went right by. Like that, like never happens. Like it's like we can't. It's like the defense is just, and to me that means we're too stagnant. We don't move like in a tricky way enough. We're too predictable, and a lot. I mean, you watch every Atlanta United game. The announcers on the broadcast are just like, "An Atlanta United is playing too predictable." Like they say it every time, and it's just slow plodding predictability. So the defense is on top of you, and you can't get loose. You can't find the open ball unless you just are Brooks Lennon and can you just beat your man in a bald sprint, or you're Saba or something like that. But you see it on the left hand side with Yazande. He can't beat guys in sprints, so he's just bogged down. Thiago can't always beat guys. Sometimes he can with the slower guys, because he just likes to dribble. He'd rather beat them on the dribble than trying to outsprint someone outright. And same with Yorgos. He's not going to outsprint very many people either. So it's just like a slow kind of march. And that's why you see defenses, they can get into formation to stop our attack very easily because we take a while to get to the point where we're dangerous now. And by that time, they're already they're low blocking and they're good to go. And our guys are trying to pull players out to make space to make something happen. And it's so hard to do. It's so congested. I mean, that to me is like a hallmark of, and in seasons past too, this has been an issue. Even with Frank de Boer, this has been an issue. Like, we just slowly build up. 2017 and 18, we didn't slowly build up. We would just got guys and went. And the other team's like, oh shit. And they would have to run after this and we'd already be gone. It was incredible to watch.
Right. But that was a little bit more helter-skelter. And I think, the large part of what you're describing is positional play. And essentially with that positional play is that it comes down to coaching. And it comes down to coaching these players to make intelligent movement. And
it's also decision making of the player as well, to recognize in that moment, all right, I'm covered. The guy with the ball coming up needs an avenue, a lane, and there's no open lanes, so I'll try and create one in an intelligent way, and that just doesn't seem to happen very often.
Yeah, they're not recognizing the space. They're not recognizing the that they need to make selfless runs, and essentially there's too much ball watching that is happening. And we're relying on the player's individual ability to be able to affect the game versus a team ability to pretty much have that elasticity to pretty much draw teams out of position. And then, in that, those players are it's like, okay, we're basically occupying the spaces that are easy for the players on the opposite side to defend. So if it's that easy, then essentially we're playing right into their hands, which is circling back to the beginning of the show. But anyway, let's get into the match preview. And so 7:30 Saturday, May 11th, DC United at the Benz. DC, they drew 2-2 last match against the Philadelphia Union. So a pretty decent, at least, scoreline there for them. Philadelphia Union are also right above them. DC United right above us. So, we're kind of all doing a little draw dance together. But, and speaking of that, we drew 1-1 when we last played DC United at Atl Utd on September 21st in 2023. The last 5 against DC United, we've actually done, or last 6 rather, have done really quite well. We've won 6 and drew 1. So, after that really torrid spell where every time we faced DC with Lucho Costa and Bill Hamid, we've turned that around. So that's fantastic. But can we do that in this match? We shall see. But the strengths of DC United absolutely are Christian Benteke and also Ted Ku DiPietro. They worked well last year, and in terms of this team, they're still very much a big part of them. Key departures from them over the off season: Chris Durkin, Donovan Pines, Derek Williams to us, and Ruan. But key signings for them in the offseason: Aaron Herrera, Matty Peltola, Gabriel Pirani, and Jared Stroud. I think as far as the Herrera, definitely one of their new defenders that is kind of where they're kind of relying on him for their kind of 3-man back line that they normally play, which the 2 strikers that they have up top They definitely are their danger men. But as far as the predictions around the league for the pundits, they have them finishing pretty much as high as 11th and as low as 15th. So, the expectations aren't super high for them, and them being in ninth, they are overperforming it to some degree right now. But that also coincides with a lot of teams underperforming. The likes of us, also Nashville, Orlando, New England. So the table is all topsy-turvy right now. But as far as DC, they're definitely aerially a very dangerous team. Anytime you have Christian Benteke up top, it's definitely going to be a thing of where you really need to watch for that, because they're also really great.
We need Steen for him.
Yeah, which who knows? Hopefully the injury was just minor for him. But as far as where I think we can get at them, it's a side that doesn't really need the ball. We will probably possess the ball a good bit. I think we really need to be dangerous with the ball and make sure that we are passing and moving. We are not ball watching, and they can also be got on set pieces. If we have a Stian Gregerson in there, even if it's Noah Cobb, or if for some reason Efren Morales is playing, we should target those players, as well as Giacomakis, as they're not as strong defending those set pieces. But getting into the players that are probably not available for us, or at least questionable. Stian Gregerson, of course. Hopefully he is okay. Jamal Tiare, he's probably going to be questionable. We'll see if he's going to come back fully from his injury this week. Derek Williams also probably questionable. They'll probably be, I would guess, one more week before they're fully ready. And then Wolf out 4 to 6 weeks, of course, with the MCL injury. So let's get into the predicted starting 11. Or maybe if you have maybe some thoughts on how we can affect this game and how we should play.
Yeah, we definitely need Stian, like you said, they're dangerous in aerial attacks, and we have been a little... there's been... dead ball situations have been scary for us, so we need to do a little bit more, and Stian, I think, will go a long way in that regard. The way we can get at them, I agree with you. They're going to want us... we're gonna be able to have the lion's share of the ball and be able to play our slow build up like we usually do. And then I don't know how well that'll work against them. Hopefully it will. Hopefully it won't just be listless crosses. Hopefully Brooks can dial it in and find Gigi, because he hasn't been able to. No one's been able to find Gigi very much. And then the times that Gigi does get found, he has been botching these for some reason. So hopefully they both can turn it around. And, our wingers can hopefully find some joy with bombing down the sides. I think, you're kind of hinting at, if we go fast, that will hurt them considerably. I'm hoping that continues to be a arrow in our quiver. Like I said, Saba seems to be not deterred. He's continuing to push on, so I could absolutely see him scoring again this game. I predict it. I think he will score this game. Hopefully Gigi does too, and gets back into winning, into that scoring mentality. And I hope, that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that predicted starting 11 then. Will you start Josh Cohen, or is it Guzan?
I think Brad starts, because he wasn't in the team sheet for the Open Cup, so I think he was fully rested for this game.
Yeah, agreed. Well, into the fullbacks, they pretty much probably choose themselves at this point. Lennon, Wiley, you see it any differently?
I mean, I know what's his Pineda said like he wants to give Caleb a rest at one point along with Thiago, coming up with the Olympics, but I don't know when that's going to happen. I have no idea. He was not clear about when that might happen, so who knows when that'll happen. At home against DC, I feel like it's probably not that time, so probably Caleb and Lennon.
Yeah. Especially, with the midweek matches coming up. That's probably what he's hinting at. But, into the center backs, I probably wouldn't risk Gregerson at this moment. So I think I'm going with Cobb and Abram. How do you see it?
That's a tough one. I want to put Stian in there from the get-go and have him give as much as he can, and then replace him. Maybe with depending, it really just depends of where Stian is really, and I just don't know because Gonzalo hasn't really been forthcoming with where he's at, in terms of his his recharged, if his back, I don't know how to put it. Anyway,
if he's fully matched,
yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. So I want him to be there, from the start, but I understand if he can't be. I want to see him at least some of this game, absolutely, because again, I am terrified of, Benteke getting a header because he's the tallest one on the pitch. So that really concerns me. So hopefully we can try and stop him with Stian. But, I'm not totally, I think it would be okay with. Probably be okay. I mean, Efren's got height, so he's got that going for him. But I don't know if he's ready for this. I think Noah Cobb has the position.
Yeah, because it's also that it's like Edwin Morales. The experience, the disparity between him and Christian Benteke. Yeah, it's like, well, Morales is a unit. Like the experience will usually win out, and so. It's going to be tough. I mean, Cobb as well. It's, Yeah, I
mean, very few people are going to have enough experience to go up against Benteke.
Exactly. So, I think there is that argument for Gregerson to start with his experience and, maybe even Derek Williams.
Ideally. And if he doesn't, that kind of tells us where he is with his recuperation.
Right, exactly. Because Abram, not exactly a unit, kind of undersized.
Small.
Yeah, I would say for a center back. So, I think we would be playing with a little bit of fire with Cobb and Abram, but we also would be playing with a little bit of fire match fitness-wise if we played Derek Williams and Stian Gregerson. So, it's kind of tough. This is probably the toughest call for this lineup right now. But because the rest of it probably chooses itself, if people are healthy. So, in midfield, Schleich, Muyumba, do you see it differently?
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
And on the wings, who do you see?
Before we move on from Tristan, I just want to say that he's been having a strange season, like up and down. Like some games he's like, what the heck are you doing? And other games he's all over the place and he's lighting it up. Like, and this I will finish with when we talk about our predictions. With kind of the theme that I believe is going to go into this game. So I'll leave that for the end.
Okay. Well, into the wings. Yeah, I think Saba, obviously, but it's who's on the wing on the left side. If Silva is able to play at least 60 minutes, I'm going to start him. Mosquera, just not
Mosquera, really. He's not there yet. He's still in his head. He needs to be out of his head and on the pitch. And until I see evidence of that, put him in the Open Cup and let's see him score some goals there, and then I'll be like, okay, you can come back now.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now he's being a little bit of a pace merchant right now, and we need to see more end product and safety with the ball a little bit too. But as far as in the attacking midfielder position, Thiago Almada, of course, and then Yorgos Yakumakis up top. But score prediction, man. What do you got?
Yeah, I think 2-1. We win, hopefully. I mean, I've been very optimistic with my score predictions this year, and I'm going to continue to be because I want us to win. But who knows? Before this last winless in 5, like I couldn't. I would be like, we would, of course we wouldn't lose at home to DC. But now I'm like, I don't know. It's really unsettling. So we need to get grounded again. We need to start seeing some progress. And this kind of goes to the, like what I was hinting at with the Tristan comment. This is like the theme of Atlanta United, at least for this game, is which Atlanta United is going to show up. Because it's like sometimes Tristan plays amazing. Sometimes he's like, what are you doing? And that seems to be the case of a lot of players on our team too. Like, is this going to be the listless Almada? Is this going to be the Gigi who for some reason keeps botching it, like in the last 2 games? Is this going to be, Lennon who can't land a good corner or a good cross? And Saba, for whatever reason, has just like the black magic curse on him where he just keeps hitting the crossbar. But like, we'll see. I mean, it's bizarre, like seeing all those things happen almost simultaneously. So hopefully the good Atlanta United shows up.
Yeah. You stole my scoreline there, but so yeah, I also think it's a 2-1. But my mind and heart says something different. I think it's probably going to be like a 2-2 draw.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go 2-1 DC, and I went, whoa.
No. I mean, I hope it's not that, but unfortunately, the way we're going right now.
Is Pineda out?
Yeah, I mean, if it is, man, like that's very tough. Like the Pineda out crowd would not be any louder if that happened. So, like 3 straight home losses, like this is as must win as it gets for Pineda's career in Atlanta.
Imagine if we were playing Miami this game, and Messi just came in and scored like 5 goals. Like, how would the fan base be at the?
Yeah,
it would just.
I mean,
oh my god.
I think it would actually do him a favor, because that's at least okay, you face the GOAT, okay.
Yeah.
But this is a team that's right above us in the standings, and probably a little fortuitous, like mentioned before, to be in that position. Yeah. We're underperforming. Yeah, it's very much so. So, but yeah,
you calling Atlanta United a candle? Because one more blow and we're out.
Man, I don't know about we're out, but Pineda.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning.
Yep. So, but hopefully it is at least a point, and hopefully it is 3 points, according to Michael's prediction. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Yeah, we've run a little long on this one. We appreciate everyone that's stuck around. But yeah, the show is pretty much almost over, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, how long do we give Gonzalo Pineda? Let us know in the comments below. Because yeah, it is definitely, I know most fans, at least the vocal ones, are calling for now. Some fans are with the realism intact, maybe that it's probably at the end of the season. But with the transfer window coming up, with the a lot of the European windows opening up, with seasons ending, there's moments to be able to hire somebody that maybe can turn this around and kind of get us on a different trajectory. So, yep, let us know. What do you guys think? Looking forward to what you have to say. But guys, that is it for the episode there and there. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's Michael. I'm AJ. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.